Hola, hola, my name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. We are a Spanish speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AEW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Nos vemos por ahí.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J Cast. I'm Joel, not joined by Damon McDonald this week. Damon is feeling poorly, he's under the weather, so let's have all your well wishes for him to get better soon. In his place we have Sue Williams, Voices of Wrestling contributor, who you are just like the Iron Man of VOW. Wherever there's a show to be previewed or reviewed or a podcast where someone needs to step in, you are the guy.
I have a lot of free time, so yes, I hop in whenever needed, and I spend so much time talking about wrestling. Very healthy, very nice.
That's it. Well, we're all extremely cool guys over here at Voices of Wrestling. Have you recovered from the deeply emotional moment of Cody finishing the story at WrestleMania weekend? Did you cry all the tears out of your body?
Oh, I was so just shaken with emotion at everything that happened over the 3 days that I watched of WrestleMania, NXT, the show we're about to talk about, Sakura Genesis, and the Collision that I had to watch because I get paid to watch it. So that was on at like midnight and ended at 2 a.m.
I can't imagine how you did that. You watched both nights of WrestleMania and NXT.
Yes, on Saturday. I woke up, I watched Sakura Genesis, reviewed it for the site. Then I watched NXT, reviewed it for the site. Then I watched WrestleMania, reviewed it for the site. And then I watched Collision, reviewed it for F4W. That was my Saturday. And then Sunday, I also watched WrestleMania. And, the WWE stuff was, it was what it was, you know.
It sounds like everyone had a great time there and that, all the WWE fans are really happy with how it went down. And that's great. But my issue with Cody Rhodes, my barrier to enjoying his work was... Gosh, I think was it about 2 years ago that he left AEW and went to WWE? Because at the time, I was getting a vasectomy. And whilst I was having the procedure done, I was listening to the Voices of Wrestling flagship and listening to Joe and Rich talk about Cody leaving AEW. So that's kind of given me like Pavlovian conditioning. Anytime I see a Cody Rhodes match or think about Cody Rhodes, I get extreme discomfort in my testicles. So I don't know if anyone else out there has this issue, but that's why I couldn't quite enjoy him finishing the story at WrestleMania last week.
There's a joke about finishing there. I'll leave it there. But that is a very unique reason not to like Cody Rhodes. Every time you see him, it makes your balls hurt. That is very good.
I'm sure he's above the point where he was in his life years ago, where he was listening and reading to what VW was saying about him and getting annoyed about it. But if you are listening, Cody, get in the DMs. You can yell at me or offer me some advice on how to get over this problem. But I've got a strange feeling you're probably not listening to this. So we will move on. Moving away from WWE. So what are your general thoughts on 2024 New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Well, I kind of had a bit of a meltdown on the New Beginning review. I reviewed both of those shows for the site in one go, and that was kind of tough because you had Matt Riddle come in, and he had to wrestle Tanahashi, who was washed, dried, folded, and put in the cupboard. You had Nick Nemeth come in. He didn't light the world on fire with Dave Finlay. And then you had the next night where Sonata shit and pissed in the bed against Naito, in my opinion. And they just had a clunker, and I threw my hands up. I was just very frustrated. So I took the New Japan Cup tour off, which, seeing the results, I understand what they were doing, but I'm glad I missed it. Very House of Torture heavy. And so I took a tour off. I came back for Sakura Genesis, and while the problems are still there of the mid card being stagnant and just not the guys I want to see moved into marquee positions, kind of just sitting where they've been for the past few years, there are signs of hope for the future. You've got Tsuji, who I think is as close to made as you can be without winning the title. I think that guy's done well. I think they've pushed Umino very well. They got him with Jon Moxley on this show. And yeah, there's, I like what they did with the juniors on this show as well. So there's hope for the future, but it's just a little rough sledding right now. But if we get through it, I think the good days will be back. Maybe not the great days, but the good days will be back for New Japan.
Did you feel that, in terms of the booking at least, that Sakura Genesis was kind of like a course correction, where some of the programs and feuds that had been getting more negative reviews were kind of fixed, and now we're sort of looking at a more optimistic outlook over the next quarter for New Japan? And how much of that do you think coincides with the return? I mean, I've heard he's been back a little while, but Big Dick Kikuchi, who has been spotted in the New Japan tracksuit, do you think we can lay it at his feet, all these this new and exciting booking programs we got following Sakura Genesis?
Well, I don't know how much credit he gets for, depending on how long he's been back, because he could have been the one to put all these belts on House of Torture to begin with. But I don't know if it's as much as course correction as it is just, maybe House of Torture was just the heels for the tour, and, they were always meant to kind of, evil stuff was supposed to end at this show. Show was, doing whatever he's going to do for the short while. So yeah, I don't know if anything changed as far as that goes. I just think, it was a House of Torture focused tour, and I'm not going to like it, and other people are going to be a little more doomeristic about it. But, it's nothing I haven't seen before, as far as Bullet Club heavy tours, Suzuki Gun heavy tours back when they were doing all the interference. So I was never super, on the Ghetto is washed bandwagon. I just feel like, bad tour. They've lost some top names, and, the feeling is bad right now for New Japan. But I think this show was good in getting, kind of getting a little base going to move forward.
Yeah, agreed on that sense. Now, of course, this is your first time appearing on the Super J-Cast, so as a rite of passage for you, so you will have to answer a question from Antonio. So I'm going to read the question to you. I'm not going to give any input. I want your thoughts on this, all right? So it's quite a long one, so brace yourself. So Antonio says, have a question, which is this. I saw this kind of ties with the whole Henare, Fale, Kenta, Yujiro, etc. wage stealing subject I talked with you guys, which I also made remember a conversation that he talked about Bushiroad Mobile division going bust. Now, the whole report of NJPW can't pay half of the rent, let alone the whole Arthur Ashe Stadium. The question is, Bushiroad going to sell NJPW in the future, since the very cash-strapped to say, at least, because sooner or later it will happen. Look at ROH and Sinclair, or even WCW, per example. Will they sell Thoggoths on their current overall situation financially? Business, creatively, is there a chance they will ever recover from the second dark phase like it happened with Inokiism? Thoggoths, over to you.
I don't know.
Every week, we seem to get a kind of rephrasing of a very similar question. Do you? And I don't know what to say to Antonio, but I've said there is a sort of salient point in there somewhere, and I do sort of wonder about the Bushiroad NJPW relationship and all the stuff we hear backstage about the sort of tension with Kidani and Gedo and all of that stuff. And yeah, certainly there have been a lot of financial troubles, but would you consider this a second dark phase to be sort of on the level of the sort of Inokiism era?
Oh, no, I don't think that at all. I think, New Japan's running into some unique problems. The economy of the country is down, the yen is down, and I think that, that hurt them when it comes to, contract time came up. Will Ospreay looked around and saw Tony Khan offering money, saw WWE offering money, and he was like, "Yeah, all right, I gotta take this money." And then you got Okada looking around, and he sees Ospreay getting all this money, and he's like, "I guess I should probably take this money too, huh?" And he headed out. So, as far as New Dark Age, I wouldn't go that far. I would say they're in some tough times, and they do need some new stars to kind of energize the company again from a booking standpoint. But I wouldn't call this any kind of dark age, because I think the wrestling is still at a certain level where you can enjoy it. I would call a dark age where the wrestling's bad and no one likes it and no one's making any money. That's a dark age to me. WCW 2000, the guys were all making money, but everything sucked and the company was losing money and they were out of business very soon. Inokiism, company almost went out of business until Ukes bought it. At least that's my understanding of it. My very casual understanding of it. But yeah, I would not say New Japan is in a dark age at the moment. I just think they're dealing with some issues in their control and some out of their control that all they can do is just ride it out, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, they're doing fairly well in terms of attendances, at least, and that's their bread and butter in terms of revenue. So this Sakura Genesis show did 6,632, which is not the normal sort of pre-pandemic setup, but apparently that is due to fan demands, that they didn't want 4 people crammed into a box. So there is that caveat, but a very healthy number for Windy City Riot. So considering that 2 of their biggest stars have just left, and whatever you want to attribute to Tama Tonga, he's gone as well, they are doing okay with the attendances. In fact, I'd say they're doing well with the attendances. But like you said, I agree with you that they do have a pressing priority to try to make some new stars, because there is a big gap, a generational gap in the roster, and a gap in terms of star power and work rate and guys who can deliver at the very top. So that's what they need to be addressing. So I completely agree with you there. But we have a lot to talk about today. We've got to review Sakura Genesis. We have to preview Windy City Riot, and also the Wrestling World 2024 in Chinese Taipei to look at. So without further ado, let's get straight into Sakura Genesis at the Ryogoku Kokugikan. We started off... Well, no, actually, first of all, we've got a question about commentary. So we had Chris Charlton going solo for about half of the show until Jeff Cobb joined him. Daryl says, I thought that Jeff Cobb was tremendous on commentary at Sakura Genesis. It's not easy to be entertaining and informative on a 3-hour show, especially without much experience. How would you rate the talent that have guested at commentary? In brackets, he had, I thought Robbie was quite good. Who was the shits? And Walker was sort of lamenting not being there for such a big show. Any idea what's happening there, trying to save on airfare? So a lot to unpack there. I've asked around in terms of the Walker Stewart situation, and the only information I've got is exactly what Chris Jarn has been saying publicly on the commentary, that this is a visa issue, which, we hope that gets sorted. I mean, this is a company that's been sorting out visas for foreign workers since 1972, so you'd hope they have their ducks in a row when it comes to that, and I hope that gets all fixed soon, because I think he was missed here. I think Chris Charlton is good at what he does, like adding the historical context, and at a push, him doing solo English commentary is fine, but I think you do need that lead play-by-play guy in there, and I think Walker was missed here because there were just moments where it kind of degenerated into silliness. Like I wrote during the junior tag match, there was just a lot of sort of jokiness and ha-has, and I was like, guys, come on, this is probably one of the better matches on your show. Let's treat it with a bit of levity here, so we can actually not just be joking around the whole time. And I thought, I'm hoping that Walker Stewart gets back soon, because otherwise I may be dipping into the old Japanese commentary sooner rather than later. But in terms of other guest commentary, I do remember getting really excited about Zack Sabre Jr. doing guest commentary, and he was absolute pants. He was awful. He barely said anything, and he was just like whispering and sounded like he was about to fall asleep. So that one stuck in my mind as being particularly disappointing. But did you listen to this in English commentary, and what were your thoughts on the booth?
I do. I listen to the English commentary. Jeff Cobb, nice guy, good wrestler. Very big fan of his wrestling. And Chris Charlton's very good. Chris Charlton's a great commentator, But yeah, Jeff Cobb, nice guy, real nice guy. Heard good things. Not the commentary, but other good things.
That's it. I think when you want to have a top level commentary team, whether that's a duo or a trio, you got to have very clearly defined roles, because otherwise you get guys just sort of stepping on each other's feet. And this is not a problem that's exclusive to this show. Yeah. But I think one thing that Kevin Kelly was excellent at is having that authority to command everyone in that commentary booth, whether it was a 2 or a 3, with his hand gestures or whatever, that everyone knew what his role was, and what Chris's role was, and what Rocky or Gino, whoever else was there, what their role was. And it was very clearly defined, and they all sort of complemented each other nicely. And I think that's something that's an area for growth, that I think New Japan need to work on. And it was a bit of an issue here, but hopefully we do get to see Walker back soon. Anyway, we'll move on to the Frontier Zone, which was Oleg Boltin, Toru Yano, and Tomohiro Ishii, defeating I think this was a 2AW team of Chicharito Shoki, Takura Nikki, and Ayato Yoshida. So most of the discourse around this match focused on Yoshida, who, of course, did work a World Tag League tour. I think it was 2018 or 2019. I forget which one, where he was teaming with Shota Umino. And they seemed to be sowing seeds there for them to have sort of a generational rivalry. But due to the Taka Michinoku scandals and the rebranding of the K Dojo and that becoming 2AW now, that never materialized. And I thought, a lot of people thought this is a what if, a tall, conventionally attractive guy like Yoshida would have been a great get for New Japan several years ago. May still be now, but I don't know how old he is. I think he's about 28, so he's not exactly a youngster anymore. But I did ask around, and apparently New Japan were just not that keen on him. So this wasn't just purely a case of, we wish we could have this guy, but the politics doesn't allow it. They took a look, and you kind of feel that if they really wanted this guy, they could have made it happen. This is not like he's not in a like Kento Miyahara situation. He's not like the ace of an established promotion where it would be an extremely bad look for them to jump over to New Japan. I think if they really wanted this guy, they would have got him. And he looks great, but maybe it's unfair for me to say this, but if he was that good, he would have made an impression at some point over the last few years, and he's not done. So maybe this is just a guy who flatters to deceive. I don't know. Did he stand out to you in this match?
I gotta be honest. I didn't watch the entire match. I watched the finish. I had the 4 shows to watch on Saturday, so I was skipping the Frontier Zone. But I did want like what you say about Yoshida makes sense. Like, because Taka's back in the fold now, and I don't know if Taka's still connected to Yoshida or connected to 2AW. My thought is he wouldn't be, but if Taka's back in the fold and New Japan wanted Yoshida, I feel like you, where they would have found a way to make that happen. So, and as far as like Yoshida goes, maybe it's a condition of his environment where it's like, how many stars are 2AW cranking out? I don't know their dojo situation. Maybe it's good. I don't know, but it could just be a scenario where Yoshida isn't wrestling high-level talent to become a high-level talent, and he's kind of just plateauing where he is. So, it's a what if, and they could certainly use another name, but if they weren't super high on him then, I don't really see them being super high on him now at age 28.
Yeah, but either way, nice win here for Oleg Boltin, who won the match with his kamikaze finisher. So this was 2/3 of the team that's going to be entering the tournament for the vacant Never Six-Man titles. So that'll be Oleg Boltin, Yano, and Tanahashi will be making up their team. So something to keep an eye on there. What are your thoughts on what you've seen from Oleg Boltin so far? What do you think his ceiling might be?
I like Bolton, big beefy dude. I said once that he looked like someone Inoki would have a main event with. Like, he just has a very distinctive look, and he's fluent in Japanese, which I didn't find out until recently. Like, he's cutting these backstage promos in Japanese, and he, to my untrained ear, he sounds as natural as anybody else. So that's obviously going to help him. The office is high on him from the looks of it. And, they could have a guy, fairly soon, depending on if and when he goes on excursion. And whenever he gets back, they could really have somebody unique and special on their hands. And that's always a good thing.
First match then for the main card was Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the team of Ryusuke Taguchi and El Desperado. Fujita got the pin over Taguchi after 9 minutes 32 seconds with an O'Connor bridge. So Fujita getting a bit of shine here, leading into a singles match with Doki at the Taiwan show, and maybe even looking longer term, heating him up for best of the Super Juniors. What are your thoughts on Fujita? Do you think he has that future junior ace aura about him?
He's got a good energy. Like, he's got a good look, good energy about him. He's got that, he's got the prick face, which always helps. He's good in the ring. He's very talented. So I like how they've been doing things with Fujita. Him not having an excursion and kind of just teaming up with the TMDK guys until he wasn't a young lion anymore. Like, that feels like a positive sign that they just kept him in house, and felt his best growth would be with the TMDK guys. And later in the show, we saw him come out and do something important, which we'll get to later, and the crowd seemed to be very much behind it. So yeah, I mean, it's looking like all systems go for Fujita, and I am not against it at all.
Second match was the team of Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi defeating Gedo and David Finlay. 5 minutes, 39 seconds. Bushi got the pin over Gedo with the move called Fable. I don't know what that move is, but it's called Fable. So
it's like a leg lock, I think. It's like a leg lock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a submission then? Have I got that wrong?
It was a submission, I believe.
Forgive me. But I thought in the preview that this could be setting up Los Dos Peligros for a junior tag title challenge. And we may be heading in that that direction, because after the main event, there was a big scuffle between LIJ and the War Dogs, and Bushi and Hiromu did pick up the junior tag title belts and throw them back towards the War Dogs. So I would be into that. I mean, this is also doing part of the job of this time of year. They do that general pre-best of the Super Juniors. Hey, everyone, remember Bushi? He's a guy. That sort of stuff that they do. But I'm quite into the and I think it's more than just speculation. I think we are probably fairly likely to get Bushi and Hiromu against Clark Connors and Driller. I think that would be a pretty good match.
Yeah, it's something fresh for the tag titles, for the junior tag titles, and big momentum for Bushi, as Chris Charlton said on commentary there. I'm a little surprised David Finlay was just, he was just a guy in this match. He was a stomach bug or whatever sickness it was. He was a stomach bug away from probably being in the New Japan Cup final, and he's here and just losing matches where Bushi wins. That doesn't seem good, but, sometimes it just is what it is with these undercard matches. You're just around in them sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes all it takes is just pick up a microphone after the main event. With the right timing, you can heat yourself up for a big program. So it looks like that's what David Finlay has in his future. So, not to jump ahead too much, but he did have words with Yota Tsuji backstage after the main event. So I would imagine that Finlay's going to have something fairly prominent to do in the upcoming tours. Third match then was Doki, Yuya Uemura, and Sanada defeating Callum Newman, Great Okan, and Jeff Cobb. It was Yuya getting the pin over Okan after 8 minutes 54 seconds with a Storm Clutch, and he has reiterated his desire backstage to get a piece of KOPW action. So there we go. Probably got that to look forward to in our future. Yuya versus Great Okan for KOPW. I think that could be pretty good. I think if they sort of went with some kind of sort of amateur wrestling gimmick stipulation for that, with lots of mat-based grappling and arm drags and stuff like that, I'd be quite into that, I think.
Yeah, Uemura I'm still getting a feel for, but I get what he's going for. The, simple, classic wrestling style. Company's obviously high on him. They gave him, he's the first one of the 4 new guys to have a singles win at the Dome. He got the win on Tsuji. So, company likes him. I'm still getting a feel for him because he's the most recent one to debut. He had most of his run in the World Tag League, which I don't watch. And then he had the stuff with Tsuji recently, which some of it, which the Dome match I liked, the hair match I was a little down on. But I'm still getting a feel for him. But KOPW, is what it is. It'll be a fun little match to throw on whenever they upload it. And, I think Uemura winning this belt will be a nice little notch in his belt for him.
Fourth match was the IWGP Junior Tag Championship 3-way match with the champions Driller Maloney and Clark Connors successfully defending against Kevin Knight and Kushida and Catch 2 Francesco Akira and TJP. So Clark pinned Kushida after 17 minutes 29 seconds following the full clip. A match that was notable for Driller Maloney getting very angry about having his eardrum burst by, in his words, Kushida, as posted on his Instagram story. So that looked pretty painful. And this was actually my favourite match on the show. I really enjoyed it. Just balls to the wall action. If you're looking for sort of psychology and narrative here, you're not going to find any. But 6 cool guys bouncing around the ring, doing cool shit on each other. And I'm happy with the War Dogs retaining. I know they're very, very divisive. Some people really can't stand them. I think they're great, and I'm very happy that they retained. What did you think of this match and the outcome?
I like the match. Having not watched a lot of the indie shows this weekend, I very much enjoyed the 6 guys flipping and flying around scramble style. This is probably the best version of all those matches this weekend, including the one at WrestleMania with all the tag teams in the ladder match. That was but I will say this match didn't make me laugh as hard as seeing Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa come out cosplaying as their bosses. That that gave me a hearty laugh on Saturday, I believe it was. But as far as this match goes, it was a lot of fun. Kevin Knight and Kushida kind of added some energy here. They've really gelled well. I hope they stick around more as time goes on. They're in Impact right now, but they've got the working relationship there, so I hope to see them around a bit more. And yeah, I do think they missed the peak a little bit because Connors and Maloney, they both hit their singles finishers on the Jet Setters, and then they hit the full clip. I think they just missed the peak on the match, but I still think it was a very good match. It's a minor gripe, a minor nitpick on what I thought was a really good match. And, looking at the rest of the card, I think it was my favorite match of the night, too.
There's a little bit of drama backstage with TJP and the United Empire guys. So TJP has been talking often and loudly about in Ospreay's absence. He declared himself the captain of United Empire, even though they're a faction that was built with the mission statement that there wasn't a leader. And apparently, from what I understand, that was kind of him going into business for himself. So we had Okan and Cobb basically calling him out on that backstage, saying, "Look, if you've not got the results to back this up, how can you call yourself a captain?" And TJP just being like, "Yeah, sorry guys, my bad." So it looks like they've sorted that out. They've had words and put a stop to that, which is good. I like that because I think TJP has added a huge amount of value to the company, but man's got to stay in his lane. Excellent junior tag wrestler, excellent junior singles wrestler, but don't give him any sort of creative input because this Aswang thing is not for me.
Yeah, I appreciate TJP taking his shot. Gotta shoot your shot, but yeah, let's some lanes you're not meant to drive in.
We also have a question from B. France here from the Discord who says, "Is it just me, or does it look like Driller has a huge dong?" Now, I'm sorry, B. France. This has escaped my attention thus far because usually this is the sort of thing I do pay attention to because I've been an admirer of Titan's hog historically. I went back in I think all the way back to Best of Super Juniors 2019. I think so. I will take a closer look at Driller Maloney's penis in the next show and give a full report on that, B. France. I apologise for not doing my due diligence here. Now, I can't remember exactly which point in the show they announced the Best of the Super Juniors lineup, but I'll just go through it now. So we've got Taguchi, Despy, Kevin Knight, which I'm very happy about that Kevin Knight is back for that because I was worried that he was just going to be Impact full-time and we wouldn't see him again. So really pleased to see him there. Yo, Hiromu Takahashi, Bushi, Titan, TJP, Francesco Akira, Doki, Robbie Eagles is coming back, Taiji Ishimori, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Sho, Clark Connors, Driller Maloney, and we've got 4 newcomers here, Kosei Fujita, Blake Christian, Ninja Mac, and Hayata. So it's not the most exciting lineup in terms of the new additions. I mean, of course, Fujita should be there. Very excited about him. Blake Christian, he's a fine wrestler and can do all the flippy-do stuff, but there's no substance there. There's no charisma. There's nothing really memorable about him. So that's when I'm just like, okay. But I'll reserve judgment because I remember sort of shoulder shrugging at Alex Zane's inclusion, and he really impressed me there. But I'm not sure Blake Christian has got the charisma to really make an impression and make a difference in this field. Ninja Mac and Hayata, I have to admit, I've not seen much of them. From what I understand, everyone's excited about Ninja Mac, but not everyone is excited about Hayata, who I've heard from other people saying that he's a bit boring. So, I just think in terms of the depth and the talent of the sort of regular rotation of junior heavyweights in New Japan, like the field is fine. Like it's really strong, and I'm sure it's going to be a really good tournament. So whilst it's not the most exciting in terms of the newcomers, I think the depth of talent in the other 16 whatever names is going to make up for it. So I'm not down on the field at all. How do you feel about it?
I like the field. I loved last year's Super Juniors. I really enjoyed that tournament last year. As far as like the new guys go, like here are the people that they're replacing all the debut entries. So Kushida's out, Leo Rush, Speedball Mike Bailey and Master Wato, who of course is injured. So
yeah, that's a net negative when you put it like that, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I know everybody's probably sick of Mike Bailey after WrestleMania weekend, but he's still great. He was great in last year's tournament. I loved Leo Rush in New Japan last year, and it's a shame things didn't work out for that long term. Wato was good, and he had the great final, and then Kushida. They're pretty much done with. Like, they pinned him in the junior tag match, so they're basically done with him. So yeah, and then the 4 new guys, Fujita, obviously, he's been around, he's graduated, and people seem to be into him. So like that one. Blake Christian, I cannot get into him. He has a very indie look, and he he's just a flippy guy. Like, I like flippy guys, but he's not a very standout one to me.
Okay, better or worse than Flip Gordon?
Slightly worse to me because of the look. Like, Flip just looked like a guy. Blake Christian actively looks like a dork. I don't know why. Maybe I have something against gingers. I don't know. But no, I like redheads, so it's not that. Like, he just, like, something about the poodle hair and the facial hair and the chain. Like, I remember it was one of the New Japan US shows. It might have been a Strong or something where, like, or this might have been a Ring of Honor, but it was him teaming with Mascara Dorada. And Dorada comes out, he's got the mask, he's got the big robe, he looks like a lucha star. And then Blake Christian just comes out behind him. He's got his poodle hair, he's got his crappy facial hair, and he's got a gold chain on, and it's like, okay, these two are a team. And it's like, okay, well, one of these guys looks like a big deal and the other does not. So, there's not much that excites me about Blake Christian. He will be guy number 15 or 16 in this field for me. And then, Ninja Mac and Hayata. I don't watch a lot of Noah, but I've enjoyed what I've seen of Ninja Mac. And if I've seen any of Hayata, I don't remember it. So it's not. So he's basically coming in with a fresh coat of paint for me. So I'll be making my judgments on him through this tournament. But as far as the rest of the field, I like the rest of the field. I like their junior division. I think it's nice and energetic, and and with the guys who stepped up after the junior title match, I'm excited to see how this tournament goes.
All right, our 5th match was the IWGP Tag Championship match with the challengers Bishamon, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto. Mercifully, thank the Lord, praise be, defeated the champions Chase Owens and Kenta, 30 minutes 51 seconds. Goto pinning Chase Owens following the Shoto. So thank God they've done the right thing here. This match could have been a lot worse. It was fine, it was functional, it was inoffensive. They didn't take up too much time. And I just sort of look back on this Chase Owens Kenta reign. Hopefully that's just like the sort of throwing a bone title reign, saying, thanks for sticking around. Here, have a little 3-month tag title reign, and then we'll sort of, actually, no, it wasn't even that long, was it? It was probably a lot shorter than that.
They wanted a new beginning.
It felt like longer. It felt like it was about 9 months, but there we go. We've got the belts back on Bishamon. Course correction, full steam ahead. Hooray.
Yeah, when the bar is on the ground, all you have to do is not trip over it, and I'll be impressed. So, so that's what happened here. Like, this was a solid match, and when Chase Owens and Kent are in it, that's a positive. You'll take solid.
Not quite as good as the Bishamon Aussie Open tag title match from last year, was it?
Not quite, but look, I'll take it. It gets the belt back on Bishamon. The tag titles have felt weird all year. like, I get the feeling that they were expecting to do something else at the Tokyo Dome, and whatever happened fell through, because, you look at it from World Tag League. Bishamon wins World Tag League. Then they challenge GOD for a rematch of the final where GOD wins it. GOD immediately loses it to Owens and Kenta, who then immediately lose it back to Bishamon. So we've basically just circled the wagon and we're back where we started. So I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's just giving a little juice to these cards, but that just felt weird to me. But I'm glad the belts are back on Bishamon, and we had a decent match here when we could have had a lot worse. A lot worse.
Our sixth match was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match, where the champion Sho successfully retained against the challenger Yo after 1 minute 36 seconds following a referee stoppage. So it looked like a basement drop kick that resulted in a separated or dislocated shoulder for Yo, which looked really gnarly and really painful and distressing for him, because he was in tears afterwards. And I don't know if that meant that he was supposed to be winning this match, but all the same, like a very upsetting moment for Yo. And look, this might turn out to be a blessing in disguise for him, because he's always been a bit of a weirdo and a guy I've struggled to connect with emotionally. But you need to have that emotional hook and that buy-in with a wrestler in order to be invested in their story. So I'm not saying that this should be, complete repackage for Yo, but they should be leaning into this and making this part of his story when he does come back. And from what I've heard, he should be back in time for Best of the Super Juniors, so it's not too bad. And of course, we had Fujita and Doki coming out, and I thought Sho and Fujita did very well, sort of reacting naturally to this. And even though obviously this wasn't the plan, making themselves able to sort of fill in for that and keep things going, keep the audience invested. So they did good work there. But I'm trying to look at the silver lining here for the Yo injury.
Yeah, Yo had impressed me last year in Super Juniors. I was agnostic on Yo going into it, but I think he did a very good job in last year's tournament. I liked the team he had with Leo Rush, and all that kind of got me on Yo's side a bit. I feel bad for him. I am happy I didn't have to watch 3 House of Torture matches in a row. That's like an unfortunate silver lining there for me personally, but I would have preferred it to come a different way to a guy getting hurt. I wrote that for any Dragon Gate fans, this was basically what happened to Madoka Kakuta a few years back at Dead or Alive. He was challenging for the Dream Gate title, the top title, and I think he took a drop toe hold and his shoulder just popped out, and he was, and the match basically ended after a couple minutes, the same way this one did. And and what Dragon Gate did was he came back a year later, and they heated him up, and then 2 years after the injury to the day, he had a rematch with Shun Skywalker for the Dream Gate title. Same scenario where he got hurt, and they put the world title on him. So I think, best case scenario for Yo, and you said he may not miss Super Junior, so that's obviously good. Best case scenario is, he gets some momentum off of this. He gets some big fan support off of this. He can put some good showings in, and I don't know if he'll win Super Juniors, but maybe he can find himself in another title situation, and he can he can show out there as well. So an unfortunate situation for Yo, and probably for Sho too, because those guys probably wanted to do something good here to cap off their whole Roppongi 3K team thing. But I will say I enjoyed Fujita coming out. The crowd seemed super into him there, and then Doki coming out popped me, because I'm a Doki guy. Doki Mania is running wild in this house, and I was very happy to see him come out. He was one of my picks to win Super Juniors this year alongside Akira. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I want to see Doki get this belt, and I want to see Doki Mania run wild, baby.
Amen. I mean, I've been on the Doki trains from day one, from his very first match, which I think was against Ren when he was a late replacement in Best of the Super Juniors back in 2019, I want to say. So yeah, I was in the ground floor with Doki, so echo all your sentiments on that. Seventh match was a special tag match with Shota Umino and John Moxley defeating Jack Perry and Ren Narita. 40 minutes, 32 seconds. Moxley pinned Ren following the Death Rider. To be honest, I think most of the discourse around this I'll save for the Windy City Riot preview, because this is just a setup for those matches. I just did want to point out that Mox looks like he's in incredible shape. He just looked absolutely ripped. So that is a man who's looking ready for something big to be coming his way, let's say.
I agree. Mox looked great. I know I said earlier I took a tour off because of House of Torture shenanigans, but I do think if this was just like a one-off for Mox, like if he didn't have the Windy City Riot match coming up, I think I would have liked a little more House of Torture shenanigans here, just to see Mox like mow through everybody like King Kong. Like, I think that would have been...
Sorry, I want to say, you're saying that you wanted more House of Torture shenanigans. So I'm just going to isolate that sound clip. And,
I knew that would backfire. But in this scenario, where Umino's been dealing with these guys for months, so he brings in Mox, and Mox just kills them all off. He swats them like flies. Like, seeing Mox just... Like, Show would have made all the faces for John Moxley, like, choking him out. And, him smacking the whiskey out of Kanemaru's mouth or something. Like, I would have had a lot of fun with Mox just wrecking house on the House of Torture. That I did not intend for that to be a pun, but I made it, and so I will continue on. So, as it was a fine match, and Mox, we got where we needed. Mox won, and Jack Perry hit some Young Bucks moves, which, I guess we'll get into that later.
The eighth match was the Never Openweight Championship match with the challenger Shingo Takagi defeating the champion Evil in 21 minutes, 14 seconds with the Last of the Dragon to become the new Never Openweight champion. And yeah, look, much like yourself, Sue, and I am a guy who is usually a bit more of a House of Torture apologist than most. Even I was oversaturated with them on this tour. I just thought they got the balance all wrong. So this match, I thought it was fine. Like, it was kind of fun at the end. It was a bit like the sort of WrestleMania main event finish with, all your favourites and your non-favourites running in and everyone getting involved, all the shenanigans. So it was okay. It was a good time. I had a chuckle. I thought it was a fairly decent payoff to all the House of Torture activity on this tour. But, for a Ryogoku Sumo Hall semi-main event, is this good enough? I don't know. Like, if this had been like fifth on the card for a big show, then I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. But here, I'm just not sure it's doing the heavy lifting that it needs to do to make these New Japan shows must-see. And I don't want to get all sort of work rate pilled here, but Evil's he's a safe pair of hands, isn't he? He's like the heel version of Sanada. He's a dojo guy. They trust him. He rarely gets injured. He's not going to injure anybody else. He lives the gimmick. I think he's got a really great aura about him. I mean, he looks the part, absolutely, and the gimmick and all that. But when he wrestles clean, he's not particularly interesting. He's not a great wrestler. He's a good wrestler, not a great wrestler. And when he's doing the cheating stuff, he's probably the least interesting guy in his faction. I don't know. Just there's something when the other guys do it, there's a lot more of a sense of creativity and fun about it than when Evil does it. When Evil does it, it just seems to be very functional. So, yeah, I understand why he's in this position, but I would just like to see him downcycled a bit because he's been very, very Evil heavy, and I just don't think he's that talented to be able to pull it off in any really compelling way.
Yeah, the House of Torture, I think on a 10-match card, their barrier should be match 5. Like any further out from match 5, like, is when they get less and less tolerable. Like when they were the Never 6-man champs and they were doing their shtick in, match 3 or 4, like, okay, you'll take it. It's fine. It's a fun little undercard act. But when you push them, that's when it becomes an issue. That's when it becomes a problem. And this match, it was fine. Like you said, it was a lot like the WrestleMania main event. A little better because all these run-ins made sense and all these people were connected to the two people wrestling. Whereas WrestleMania, hey, the Undertaker's here. Why?
Excuse me, but lest we forget the Roman Reigns Undertaker classic at WrestleMania. They have deep history, deep lore. I'm not going to have you sullying the excellent WWE storytelling on the Super J cast there.
That maybe, I believe I called that in real time the most pathetic wrestling match I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, that
it did make me feel very sad.
I don't know if you want to be reminding people of that, but yeah, sure. But yeah, it did what it needed to do. They called back to Shingo, how Shingo got eliminated from the New Japan Cup with Evil getting a face full of powder and whiskey, which is basically what you'd call a Friday night in the Sportatorium. And yeah. Yeah, Shingo's the Never Champ. Cool. Like, Shingo, he's one of those guys where I feel like you could be doing more with him. He could be like a world title mix kind of guy. But they've got him here, and this seems to just be where Shingo lives now, so it's unfortunate. Because you have Zach in the opener. He's just working a tag. That's his card for the night. But he's still around the TV title. And you've got Shingo, former world champion, former Dome main eventer, January 4th Dome main eventer. You've got two guys who could help out right now, and they're kind of just in the mix a little bit. And I feel like they could be guys who are elevated in the short term while you're elevating, the new generation, the Reiwa generation, in the long term. So, Shingo's got the Never belt, and that's fine, but I really feel like they could be doing more with him, and to the benefit of the company. And I think the fans would be into it. I think are people over Shingo? I don't get that feeling.
Yeah, I get the need to accelerate the push and the development of the Reiwa guys and Yuya. So I just think you could have, let's say, taken everything that they gave to Sanada last year and just given that to Shingo instead. That would have been a much more productive use of that, because Sanada was, to me, a bust. And yeah, I agree. I think with the loss of the sort of more work rate guys, the guys who you could count on for your classic stars matches, guys like Ospreay and Okada, I would want to see the likes of Shingo and Zack and even Taichi and Jeff Cobb moved up into those spots and put in more prominent positions, because those are guys that I think could do that I think should be filling out, if not necessarily the main events, but certainly your 6th, 7th, 8th match on these kind of cards to give us some bloody good wrestling with guys hitting each other and that.
Yeah, I understand why they're going with guys like Evil. Well, I understand why they tried with guys like Evil and Sonata and Dave Finlay. They're younger, they're dojo guys. You built them up through your system, and now you're, trying to get them to the next level and become, that next generation of star. But for each of their reasons, those have not worked out to the level where you want them to. So, guys like Shingo, guys like Zach, guys like Taichi, who you brought up, who I really think could be another guy in the mix, they're kind of just sitting there and helping them get over, and it does feel like a waste of resources when you've got these guys who can do what your company has become known for, the great matches, the stars and all that, but they aren't getting the shot, and the guys you are giving the shot to, they aren't working out. That is a point of contention, and I just wish Geto would kind of realize that moving over to these guys would be better. I was trying to think of a more eloquent way to say that, but frankly, it would just make for better shows, because the guys you're trying with, I get it, but it isn't taking, and we're in a generation transition right now, so you need guys of that talent level to keep fans hooked in as you transition generations, and they're right there. You have them. This can be smoother if you change your mindset up a little bit.
Right, Booze asks, do you think Evil is a Pats or a Geno's guy, or is he sophisticated enough to know better? Now, I don't know, and I'm assuming this is some sort of Philly cheesesteak turf war thing, having never been to either. Can you shed any light on that? Are you more educated than I?
I have never been to Philadelphia, and right. I don't plan
we'll save that
on
one
it.
For Damon. David Bentley Fart says, is 2024 the year that Evil becomes the final boss of New Japan? No, come on. He's not a final boss. He's a mid-boss. I don't know. Let's try and think of an equivalent. Final Fantasy VII. He's the Turks. Or Final Fantasy VIII. He's like Cypher. He's the guy who just keeps popping up and you're like, this guy again. Come on, get out of the way. I want to see the cool guys. He's absolutely not like a Sephiroth or anything like that. It's not final boss material for me.
He is I will go to Uncharted here. He's like the human antagonist that you chase the whole game, but then they get killed by the monsters that show up at the end. So
right, yes, yeah.
Yes, so that's what Evil is. He is, the guy in the glasses who takes the thing from Nathan, who takes the MacGuffin from Nathan Drake, who gets murdered by some weird beast.
We do have a question about porn stars, but I feel if I answer that without Damon, he'll get upset. So I'm going to save that for him. This match finished in the aftermath of this was Gabe Kidd coming out and attacking Shingo Takagi, and he went on quite the rant, quite the expletive-filled promo, which I enjoyed. It's almost like he listens to the pod with all the stuff he was saying, and it did resonate, about the company being an embarrassment. So I just imagine, I assume it's Chris Chant who has to translate these things into Japanese, but when Gabe's like, you may as well go into Tony Khan's office, pull your trousers down and say, do your worst. And Chris is there like, oh my God, how am I going to translate that? And I was asking around with my Japanese speaking friends, did they actually translate that bit? I wanted to see the subtitle equivalent of, you should go into Tony Khan's office and remove your trousers and prepare yourself for anal penetration. But they just they glossed over that one, unfortunately. But whilst it was a very entertaining promo, it was unhinged, and that is what I like about Gabe. But I feel that kind of pick a target, my man. If you're going to be fighting Shingo next, then maybe go off on Shingo a bit more, or at least have it mainly about him. But I'm excited about the future direction of the Never title, because the idea of guys like Shingo and Gabe and maybe Henare, if and when he is back, we don't know what's up there, but
if they ever glue his head back together.
Right. I mean, he, for the record, put out a tweet with a photo of an airplane, and in Maori he said, "Goodbye, Japan." So yeah, I always fear the worst when this sort of stuff pops up, but we'll see. Yeah, future direction for the Never title is exciting nonetheless. Danny says, after the stuff about him maybe being in the doghouse, is the freedom Gabe had for his Sakura Genesis promo a sign that the company has some renewed faith in him? If the answer isn't yes, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a promo that, he went with the notes to Tanahashi-san and was like, so I'm going to say this and this. Is it okay if I reference your bitch stabbing you? And Tanahashi's like, yeah, of course it is, Gabe. That's fine. I don't see that happening. I think he just went off and look, he speaks with such a thick Nottingham accent that I think most native English speakers struggle to understand, let alone the Japanese audience. So I think that's the kind of thing he could probably get away with. I did like Tanahashi's very disapproving expression as Gabe was spitting on him. So I like the promo. I thought it was quite entertaining. I like where the future direction for the Never title. Where are you on Gabe and War Dogs?
I have been a fan of Gabe for a long time. I remember when I was first writing for Voices of Wrestling, Robin Reed decided to haze me by making me watch What Culture Pro Wrestling for the site, and Gabe was one of the few bright spots there. I think he was like 18 or 19. He was in Bret Wrestle, so he was young. So I saw him there, and he was very good. And then he went through the dojo, and I think I like his passion for the company. Like, his whole point of the promo was he's sick of people disrespecting New Japan. Like, he's sick of guys from WWE showing up and, treating it like he said, like they're working on Main Event. He's sick of people, like Jack Perry coming in and treating New Japan like a punishment. Like, his character is someone who cares a lot about New Japan and got burned by COVID and the LA dojo and all that. And so he's just lost his mind. I think there's a base there for a point where Gabe can turn and become a really popular babyface with people, and because he loves the company so much. And I know he's got the talent to do it. I've seen him do it with much lesser talent. I cannot stress enough how less talent was on those What Culture Pro Wrestling shows in 2017. But my worry is Gabe going too far and costing himself pushes and maybe opportunities, because yeah, man, I don't know if Tanahashi wants to be reminded about that time he got stabbed. I don't think that that's something you want to be bringing up, but hey, if he's got the Never title shot, there's a good chance he'll win it. He's probably gonna beat Eddie Kingston and get the strong open weight title at some point. So, my advice to Gabe, my unsolicited advice would be maybe pump the brakes a little bit, but he's on the right track, and I think the company's behind him. So I see a bright future for Gabe Kidd if he doesn't fuck it up for himself.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think he is going to be his own worst enemy. As cliche as that is, that's a fact. I mean, his history is public, it's out there. So, as long as he keeps his nose clean, I'm sure he will have a very exciting 2024 in that Never title scene. So, moving on, the 9th match is the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match, with the champion Tetsuya Naito successfully defending against the challenger Yota Tsuji, 34 minutes, 26 seconds with a Destino. So a couple of questions here. Elliot says, why did I walk away from that main event feeling hollow and unsatisfied? Is it a me problem? Michael says, same here, even though a big fan of both guys. To be honest, this landed about where I expected it to. I mean, I don't really do the star ratings, but if I did, it would be in the 4 to 4.25 range for me. I thought it was a really good match. Plenty of callbacks to stuff that they've done historically, the Boston Crab thing, which Naito used on Tsuji when he sent him off for that Summer Struggle pre-excursion match. The crowd was really hot. It was exciting, but it wasn't a clear match of the year candidate for me, at least. I enjoyed it less than the New Japan Cup final. And maybe this is just where we are with New Japan in 2024. As I've mentioned before, we have the generational gap and also the roster gap with the people that have left. We don't have guys like Okada or Ospreay or even Jay White, Kenny Omega, whatever, Kota Ibushi to fill in those, have those big stars match, the big work rate matches. So maybe as fans we just need to manage our expectations for things like the star ratings. And I do want to try and avoid all this squint to see it analysis where you're like, well, actually, if you completely immerse yourself in the story and examine it from a purely kayfabe perspective, it was actually perfect. Like I don't want to do that. I mean, there's an eye test, something has to pass before I say it's actually a candidate. This didn't pass it, but I don't think it's anything to worry about because you've said it already on this podcast. Yota Tsuji is the guy. He is getting all the biggest spots out of his cohort, out of the Three Musketeers. He's been given these big spots and these main events to help him learn on the job. That's why he's being put in these spots. It's not going to be perfect. He's learning to figure this out. These guys are not the finished article yet, and I think we're sort of guilty as fans of sometimes sort of projecting onto them, that they're the finished article, that they're perfect, and they're ready to just do everything that New Japan main event wrestlers do. They're not. They're still figuring this stuff out, and that's why they put them in these spots, because if they don't, then they're not going to learn this stuff. So the conditioning for me, Tsuji, is something that I think is an issue at the moment. He's not used to working the longer matches, and I don't know if it was always the intention to go 34 minutes here, or if they went a bit longer because of the Yo injury. I'm not sure if that had an impact, but yeah, they certainly could have filled the time in a more compelling way, and I think that's something Naito is also learning on the job to a different degree here, because he's like settling into a new role now as the remaining company ace, and his job is to get this next generation over. This is a role that Okada wanted no part of. He dipped, and I'm not going to legislate that again, but it's not easy. It's really tough as being the top guy and trying to help get those young guys over. And we know Naito's had issues with the layouts of these matches, like the Shota Umino match I think it was with a New Beginning last year.
Yeah.
It's tough to do. Like when you are the beloved babyface ace that everyone adores, trying to lay out a match where people are going to cheer for the other guy is really tricky. I thought they did an okay job here. There were lots of chance for Naito and lots of chance for Yota as well. It's a tricky one in terms of the sort of the face versus face dynamics here. But yeah, Naito, I also feel he's a guy who's recalibrating his in-ring style. I think he seems to be phasing out the more intricate, high-speed, ambitious sequences, which over the last 18 months have been where his matches have kind of fallen apart. Whether or not, I'm not saying that it was his fault in each of those occasions, but I think he needs to be more like, sort of to have a point of comparison, like 2017 or 2018 Tanahashi, who wasn't doing, high speeds, flippy-do stuff. He was just doing very solid, fundamental wrestling, figuring out how to structure the match, how to fill up all the time in a compelling way and tell great stories in the ring, and, more importantly, making his opponents look great and getting those guys ready to carry that torch. Because, Naito himself has acknowledged that he's not got a huge amount of time left as being the top guy. So, yeah, that's how I looked at this match. Well, a really, really good match. I don't want to say it was bad or anything, but I think we were looking at two guys learning on the job, basically.
I share your sentiments on the match, where I liked the New Japan Cup match a lot more than this one, but I still liked this one. The structure of this match was, I understood what they were going for. Naito is slowing down this explosive, exciting new guy. He's slowing him down, grinding him down, dragging him to the deep end of the lake, and, trying to, seeing if he can swim. And Tsuji, fought back. The crowd was behind him. In the sense of, putting the match together, I understand what they were going for, and I think it worked to a certain degree, but I don't think it worked in maximizing on Tsuji's strengths. I've realized over the past few months, Yota Tsuji's a maximalist wrestler. He needs a crazy white boy to do crazy shit with. He needs an Omega or an Osprey to just throw bombs for 20 minutes and make you jump out of your seat and make you lose your mind. Like, that's, I believe, is where, like, peak Yota Tsuji is. Because I look back on the match he had with Osprey back at Power Struggle last year? Last fall.
It was either that or Destruction in Kobe. One of those.
Destruction, yes. It was Destruction because Umino was before the Dome. But yeah, I look back at that Osprey match, and that I think that was the best match of Tsuji's career because him and Osprey were able to go back and forth in that like boom, 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 big match style. And Naito here, they worked like Naito worked a different match here, and you look back at the hair match with Uemura, and that wasn't, you know, big moves and stuff. It was more working toward Uemura's strengths of like, you know, being grounded and you know, slowing it down a little bit, keeping it basic kind of. And you know, I don't think that works best for Yota Tsuji's style. So it kind of
it could just be a case of like New Japan needing Tsuji to be more versatile than that, because I agree with you. He's at his best with the sort of sub 20-minute get all your cool shit in sprint. Absolutely with you on that, but he can't have that kind of match with everyone. And if he is going to be the top guy in the company sooner or later, then maybe they need him to be more than that.
That's a fair point too, and you know, having matches like this will help because he can learn from this, like you said, and you know, grow from it and learn how to, you know, maybe work his style into these matches a little bit more, where you know he's not fully, where he's not like where he doesn't have that cap on him, you know, where he can get his explosive stuff in while also working in the more New Japan epic main event kind of way.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. But it's just like I said, I think there's a lot of learning and growing for him to do. So we're on that journey with him. So I just don't want to sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, well, because this wasn't a 5-star match, this guy's trash, you know, because he's got all the tools there. I just think we as a fan base need to have a bit of patience, and you know, I've seen enough from him to have absolutely no worries about him moving forwards.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of go ahead.
He hasn't even been around a full year yet. He was back at Dominion last year in the main event where he got over immediately, and you know, he's still growing and he's still getting better, and he's growing and getting better. And he's also already over. So he's in a good spot here, and I think he's going to have a lot of patience with fans because they want to see him hit the highs that they think he can hit. So, you know, I think he can afford not even necessarily a miss. I wouldn't even call this a miss, but he can afford to have a match like this with Naito that falls a little short of expectation. He can have a match with Uemura, like the hair match, where it, you know, it doesn't hit the way you want it to. And I think people will still be rooting for him to reach that level and not give up on him yet.
Yeah, and I dare say, you know, hopefully there are more Naito versus Tsuji singles matches in the future, so they can use this one as the baseline and then build on that.
Because that's going to be Tsuji's big win, because of the send off from way back when. That's gonna be when Tsuji is over the top. That could be a Dome main event, in the near future. You know, it's a shame Uemura won't get that opportunity, but hey. Is what it is.
Right. So backstage after this match, Finlay was berating Tsuji, saying that was his spot because he was sick and not able to compete in New Japan Cup, and that Tsuji had blown it. Then there was a big scuffle between LIJ and War Dog. So yeah, I mentioned before about the junior tag titles, and maybe we might see sort of a larger LIJ versus War Dog's feud moving forward into the next tour. Although there was some really funny stuff from Shingo where he was shouting at the War Dogs after they've left, "You're in Japan, speak some Japanese." He comes out with these little sort of grumpy old man yelling at Cloud one-liners. Shingo, who's I think sort of underrated comic genius there, Shingo. But yeah, Louis says, should we have more I assume he means inter-faction. He said interaction title matches. I think he means inter-faction title matches in the future. I will settle for more regular inter-faction matches too. I will say that Naito, in his backstage comments, did invite all the other members of LIJ to face him while he still has time. So yeah, it seems to be something that they're a bit more open to because, certainly Naito Hiromu is the one that everyone wants. And I think Naito versus Shingo, we had that in the G1 back in 2019 and it was great. And I can't believe they haven't gone back to that. That feels like a match that could do some good numbers as well. So yeah, it's nice to see that Naito has acknowledged that. There's also the case of New Japan wrestlers just saying shit, which happens a lot and may not amount to anything, but he's said it at least. So there's that. I suppose we should. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I would be in favor of maybe a few more. Like if you want to do it in like a tournament, like a Super Juniors, you have Hiromu versus Bushi, or in a G1 you have like who's in a faction, Taichi versus Sonata or whatever. Like, I think we could do it a little more often, but I wouldn't want it to be like a regular thing. I think, the faction versus faction stuff that New Japan does is generally good.
Yeah, I don't think they've got the luxury of keeping guys in the same faction completely apart as they have done previously. Yeah. But yeah, there's a balance to be found in not leaving money on the table because, I've said before that I think most of the money-making top-drawing stars in New Japan at the moment do all seem to be lumped together in LIJ, and that's an issue, and they've got to address that, and it's good to see them taking steps to do that. So well done, Kikuchi.
So what it sounds like you're saying, Joel, is you want Hiromu in House of Torture.
Well, now you've thrown it out there, I think he'd be great in House of Torture. He's got that kind of mischievous, manic energy that I think would be a great success. So I'm going to text that to Kikuchi now, and we'll look forward to that at the next talk.
You can blame me, folks, at Suit Williams on Twitter.
Dr. Gary says, was the appearance of Kidani at the end the start of his heel run where he ends up becoming an evil boss, booking himself to win titles, marrying off his children to wrestlers, and eventually having his past catch up with him? Yuck. I don't... Yeah. Oh, no. No, thank you. Green Jake says, what's your guys' temperature check after Sakura Genesis? Any likely programs you're hyped about? So yeah, give me one thing that you're most excited about moving forward after Sakura Genesis.
Shingo and Gabe Kidd feels like it could be a really good feud for the Never title. Junior tag titles, I guess. I'm a little over Hiromu in the juniors. I think he's another guy who could be, in a more marquee position. But that seems to be a battle I won't be winning. But I do like what they're doing with the junior title with Doki and Fujita fighting over next man up for show. So I do like them getting in the mix. So junior title, Never title, and then world title I'm very interested in coming up on Friday.
All right, well, let's get into that then. So, Windy City Riot. Hopefully, you're listening to this before the show has taken place. Friday, April 12th in the Wintrust Arena. So, yeah, very healthy number for this. We're looking like, more than 6,000. So, they've done a tremendous job. I suspect a lot of that was down to having Naito and Mox as your marquee main event well in advance, and also having other stuff announced, like, your Hiromu against Mustafa Ali and that sort of stuff. But yeah, let's go through it then. We've got the Strong Survivor match, Matt Vandergriff versus Zane J. I don't know anything about Zane J, but it seems that Matt Vandergriff is the sort of the anointed prospect coming out of their academy at the moment. So I would expect him to pick up another win here. I mean, he's okay. Just Blake Christian adjacent, I would say. Like, competent wrestler, cool flips and stuff, but just looks very shindy at the moment.
Could not pick these two out of a lineup.
Fair, absolutely fair. Then we've got Viva Van and Mina Shirakawa against Trish Adora and Alex Windsor. So I would expect Trish Adora and Alex Windsor to be picking up the win here as the more experienced wrestlers. But Mina Shirakawa, big fan of Mina Shirakawa. Very, very good at whatever it is she does.
Yeah, which this week was making out with Mariah May on TV. That's cool.
Yes, I did not see that. I will have to investigate. Just so I can keep track of the stories. I need to know this stuff to properly analyze the products. Then on to the main card. First match is Minoru Suzuki versus Ren Narita. So really interesting one here with the sort of dissolution of Strong Style. Minoru Suzuki and Ren Narita, of course, along with El Desperado, were the only members of it. So yeah, this is a match I had hope we get at some point in Japan. Was not expecting it. Kind of came out of the blue here, but yeah, really looking forward to this. I'll be interested to see if it does degenerate into House of Torture shenanigans, and sort of having Suzuki as the kind of baby face in peril at the expense of House of Torture stuff would be quite an interesting dynamic, considering a few years ago Suzuki was the head of that sort of stuff, back in when Suzuki-gun was fully on their bullshit back in like 2017, 2018. So that's an interesting one. I think it would behoove them to have Ren picking up the win here, though, just to really establish his credibility, particularly in front of fans who might not really be familiar with him. I think a strong win over Suzuki would do a lot of good there.
I'm sorry, I've been distracted. There is a shoot rooster doing the cock-a-doodle-doo thing, like very close to my house. I can hear it.
Like, we've never had a rooster running before on the Super J Cast. This is the first.
It's literally the like it's literally doing that.
That is incredible. I mean, I live right next to a farm, so if there is like geese honking or cows mooing, it comes with the territory. So
yeah,
there we go. It's the old McDonald podcast over here.
Yeah, I live very close to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but also very close to the sticks. So it is it's geese are normal over here, but the roosters going is that's new. But as far as Suzuki and Narita goes, I think this is a spot where Ren will get a nice marquee win over a guy who's still got whose name still draws a lot of presence in Suzuki, And as far as the match goes, it'll be a Suzuki match. He'll throw his chops and they'll both make their faces and it'll be a fine time.
Yeah, but maybe this is naive of me to hope that Suzuki goes, puts in a little bit more than just the usual phoning in performance he does on the US Indies, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, very smart, of course, to have this as the first match on the card, so all the Yankoid imbecile fans can do the Kaze Nina Ray song as he enters the ring, because they love that. They love doing the catchphrases and the chanting and all that stuff. That's what those guys like. Anyway, move on to the second match, which is the NJPW Strong Women's Championship with the champion Stephanie Vaquer with her first defense against the challenger Azumi from Stardom. I'm assuming Vaquer is going to retain here, and I'm happy to see her with the belt. Sometimes I admit I do sort of lose track of who has this title, but I think Vaquer deserves it. She's been the highlight of a lot of the shows, these stateside shows that she's been on. I think she's a really good worker. So looking forward to this one. Azumi, I don't know a huge amount. Only what I've seen of her has been when she has been. I think she part of a three-way with Mercedes Moné around this time last year. I seem to recall. So I think this should be quite a good one.
Someone else. It was a three-way. I don't remember the third person. I mean, you never know. Azumi could win, and then she can roll into a Collision on Saturday to wrestle Jesus, how many fucking posts are in this U.S. wrestling channel?
I do not go into that channel anymore.
She's wrestling Toni Storm on Saturday. So maybe the strong women's champ versus the AEW women's champ will be a nice little draw, and it'll be on one day's notice, so it'll be normal for AEW.
All right, third match, we have the Strong Openweight Tag Championship Open Challenge 4-way match with El Fantasma and Hikuleo against Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols, against Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, against Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler. I really like Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, so I would like them to win the titles. I don't think they will, though, so a more realistic option. Why not put it on TMDK? Because they've eaten a lot of shit. You know, they're the guys who make it deep in the tournament but don't win it, and have the title match and don't win it. So they've been bridesmaids, but never the brides as far as tag gold goes in New Japan. So let's get the belt off of ELP and Hikuleo. There's no juice there. This is not working for me. It's a partnership that is less than the sum of its parts for me, ELP and Hikuleo. So I think time to move on.
I would agree. I don't strongly care about this, but go with Rosser and Lawler. Put the belts on them, and then them and the Wrecking Crew can feud for the belts.
Sure. The winners of this match, let's say Mo. I was going to say when I was looking at this, like I don't care who wins, but I thought I'd try and be a little bit more insightful. But yeah, I do kind of feel you on that one. Fourth match then, Shota Umino versus Jack Perry. Now, the sort of build-up and discourse of this match is completely dominated by the footage of the CM Punk, Jack Perry. I'm doing big air quotes with my fingers here. Fight backstage at Wembley. Which has just eaten this up completely. And I'm just kind of curious, not so much about what the match will look like, but how the crowd will react to Jack Perry. Because I watched the backstage stuff, and it was just a load of nothing, and I don't know why they released it. The only takeaway there was Punk saying that Jack Perry stepped up to him and got in his face, which he didn't. So CM Punk is a liar and exaggerated things to make himself look better. News at 11. So I'm just curious to see, are the fans going to cheer for Jack Perry? I don't know. I felt that the footage kind of baby-faced him, if anything. So it's going to be an interesting one. I would expect Shota Umino to get his win back here. And maybe this will be the last we see of Jack Perry, because the Young Bucks were talking about him quite a lot, which makes me think that he's probably going to be heading back to AEW sooner or later. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I will say you may want to put CM Punk All In Thoughts in the title to get those sweet downloads. Full on.
We'll isolate that bit for the YouTube clip.
There you go. But yeah, Jack Perry seemed to have lost a fight he didn't realize he was about to be in. You've got Shota Umino fighting, I guess, on the behalf of CM Punk. Look, you
should come out to Cult of Personality. That would be brilliant.
You think Bushiroad can afford that? They're gonna have to cut half a United Empire for that.
Do you think Shota might incorporate a CM Punk move or two into his arsenal for this match?
Ooh,
do you think he's going to bust out a cheeky go to sleep? Maybe
he could hit a GTS into like the Death Rider. That would be a
Pepsi plunge.
Finish. There you go, a Pepsi plunge. But yeah, Perry, he's about to head back to the team with the Elite. I like that angle. I liked the AEW angle as far as like how they contextualized it on TV, with the Bucks kind of just using this fight as an excuse as to why they lost to FTR at All In. But as far as this show goes, this is Perry doing the jizzob on the way out, as one Bright Lights Carl Anderson would say. Umino's gonna win. The scapegoat will go on his merry way. Do you think he will bring the goat head to AEW?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm always a fan of animal heads being part of the gear. I don't know if you ever watched Lucha Underground back in the day. But,
I was a Lucha Underground guy, very much so.
who am I thinking of? King Cuerno.
Yes.
And he had the buck head. That was a good look. So yeah, any kind of animal heads as mask, I'm a big fan of.
King Cuerno, who wrestled on WrestleMania. If you forgot, I wouldn't blame you, but he was out there.
What name is he going by now? Is he Santos Escobar?
Yes, that is Santos Escobar.
I can't believe I knew that.
Yeah, there you go.
Me.
There you go.
All right. Fifth match, then we have Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi. So Ali, he is the X Division champion. Is that right?
Yes.
But this is not for the X Division. From what I've heard, the indie run or TNA run or whatever it is for Ali so far has been pretty underwhelming. So I'm a bit disappointed that he's not in the best of the Super Juniors field, which to me kind of tips the hand that he's either not fully committed to this or he's just asking for extortionate prices, maybe a little bit of both. So I'm not holding my breath for a blowaway match of the year candidate here, because I don't know, just from what I've heard so far, I believe that Ali is a really good wrestler. I mean, I've seen his sort of high-end stuff in WWE and really enjoyed it, but it just feels like his heart's not really in it. And when that is the case, you can kind of sniff that out very, very quickly with these sorts of runs.
Ali is so good that he had me watching WWE secondary shows, so he's very good. But I think part of the problem is this goofy politician gimmick he's doing, which is the polar opposite of what was good about Mustafa Ali. Like, Mustafa Ali is like a great, sincere, like, not exactly underdog babyface, but like a hardworking, well-meaning babyface. And he comes out of WWE and he does a politic referencing heel, which I don't know, just not a great viewpoint on himself, I guess, would be my main problem with Ali. But yeah, I guess it's a gimmick he's got, and I expect him to be coming into this match with that gimmick, and I think that puts a cap on this match, unfortunately. I don't really see this being any like a kind of standout match. I'm unfortunately going to have to put that at the feet of Ali, because I think Hiromu's very capable of it. But Ali, at least in this form, I don't believe he's capable of that. So.
Sixth match is the Riot Rules tag match. It's a no DQs tornado tag, and the members are to be revealed on entrance. So we've got Eddie Kingston and 3 others against Gabe Kidd and 3 others. So, I mean, the Gabe Kidd partners, you can probably figure out who they are. Just pick 3 War Dogs guys. Eddie Kingston, I mean, I'm not expecting any huge names, because otherwise they would have marketed them to try to sell tickets. But I would be expecting, former tag partners and the like. One name that was bandied about, I don't know, Homicide, someone like that.
If there were odds on who would be in this match, I would bet my house on Homicide being in it. Like, unless he's like
and
hurt
one of
something.
Santana or Ortiz, one of those healthy at the moment. I don't know, but
Ortiz is hurt, and I don't think he's friends with Santana anymore.
Oh, okay. Right. I don't know. I don't keep up with this stuff, but either way, I'm expecting this to be a Gabe Kidd win that we can kind of pass through to a Gabe Kidd challenging Eddie Kingston for the strong title at Resurgence, I guess.
I would agree. I think that is the plan, and I expect this to be your New Japan of America hardcore match where it's not really that good, but they insist on doing it.
Yeah, it's like an unwritten rule that every US-based show needs to have some sort of plunder match, even though they all stink. But again, Yankoid imbeciles, that's what you like. So shut up and eat your pine cone. Seventh match is the NJPW World TV Championship with Matt Riddle. It says here this is his 3rd defense, but I mean, according to Matt Riddle, he's had about 17 defenses so far. But either way, Zack Sabre Jr. is coming to town to challenge for it. Nick says, so Zack is either losing to Riddle or will have the TV title back. When is Krusty the ZSJ World Title push coming. So yeah, I don't know if this is just like a simple rescue mission that they want to get the belt off of Matt Riddle, because so I don't know if the time limit draw between Matt Riddle and Jake Oman from SCX Expo 4 Parade of Champions is going to be making it to NJPW World anytime soon, because he did say, Matt Riddle did say that his title was on the line. I'm not sure that one necessarily got the green light with the office, and I don't know if this is why Zach is suddenly challenging for this. And look, they have built it up well with Matt Riddle getting in defenses against Badu Tito and Kosei Fujita, so it's not like it's come out of nowhere, but it is a bit of a weird spot, because I've said before, Zach coming off the back of that huge win over Bryan Danielson, to me, should have been rocketed straight into the main event scene. May still happen, but him going back for this TV championship feels like a downgrade. Feels like he's above that now. I don't really... Well, obviously, I don't want to see him losing to Riddle. I don't want to see him winning the belt either. So they've put themselves into a lose-lose situation here. And I don't... maybe you could do a 15-minute time limit draw, but I'm not sure who benefits from that.
That seems to be the out. I think Zach can lose to Riddle, and then, you just move on and give Zach some singles wins. Like, I don't think that would be a death sentence. Riddle defending the belt without telling the office, that doesn't seem like a great idea for a spot you're new in, but
to be fair, right, on the whole list of Matt Riddle's bad ideas, probably one of the less offensive ones.
Yeah, it's like the Chase Owens and Kenta match. You'll take this one. Like, if this is the bad idea, yeah, you'll take it. But I expect Riddle to retain here. So I think if you want to do the draw, you can. Maybe he catches Zach with like a knockout knee or something, but I don't think that would derail Zach in any way. I just think, when would he get the that next singles win? Like, because you got Duntaku and then Super Juniors and then Dominion. Maybe Forbidden Door, maybe the G1. Like, I don't know. I don't know when Zach is gonna get. I don't know when Krusty's coming. Maybe Dominion. Maybe he'll win the G1. Krusty's coming.
Well, you'll remember before the pandemic struck that it was Zach who came out to challenge Mox for the US title, didn't he? So they've still not gone back to that one. So I don't know. Just something to keep in the back of your mind there. But I kind of feel Zach wins this and then maybe hands it over to someone who's a bit more deserving. I don't know, maybe Ren. So maybe you'll lose it to Ren on.
Maybe Taichi. I've been wanting them to do Zach versus Taichi for a while now.
Oh, Taichi TV champion would be great.
They never did that, and I thought that was going to be the Wrestle Kingdom match. But President Tanahashi booking himself to win a title at the Dome. Fucking Muto over here.
Oh dear, right. Eighth match, special singles match. Another one of our foreign absentee champions, Nick Nemeth. He's not defending his is it the global heavyweight championship? Is that
the white belt.
The white belt.
We're gonna end up like Stardom and just naming these belts like the colors. It's the white belt.
Yeah, the white belt, so we can subsume the lineage of the IC title as well. So Nick Nemeth against Tomohiro Ishii, no championship on the line. And I guess this will be, as everyone's saying, the good acid test to see, can Nick Nemeth work a New Japan style match? Can he work the Ishii match rather than doing the WWE match? Because all the matches I've seen from him so far are very WWE pilled. So I don't know if he's got that in his locker. And to be honest, I think this is the acid test. If you can't get a good match with Ishii, who I've heard his knee is not in a good state. He may not be physically able to do big tours and big tournaments anymore. So, we'll see what that looks like. But I kind of feel that if Nick Nemeth cannot have a good match with Ishii, then yeah, it's a hand wave for me.
Now, I think, it's Ishii, so it's going to be a good match. But is it going to be just a good match? Or can Nemeth add to it and make it a great match? Because Ishii can have a good match with anybody. I've put him in my notebook against Chase Owens. Like, the guy, he's a machine. So he's going to have a baseline match here. Can Nemeth push past that baseline to something really, really good? I wonder, like, I want to give Nemeth time to, like, kind of acclimate and figure out who he is outside of the WWE system, because he's been there for so long. He was there for like 20 years in some form or fashion, because, you know, he was in their developmental, Spirit Squad, went back to developmental, then he's been Dolph Ziggler since the Stone Ages, so, you know, he's been there for a long time. It takes some time to shake it off and figure out who you are outside of that. But, I mean, this is going to be a big test for him, and I want to see how he does at this stage. Can he open his game up to something new here?
And the big one, main event here, is the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Jon Moxley challenging the champion Tetsuya Naito. So, a lot to unpack here. Now, I'm going to be a coward. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I think this is a win-win situation, honestly. And I'll try and look at it from both perspectives. So first of all, Naito retaining, I'll be absolutely fine with. And I think, you know, him being the champion at the moment and leading the company, he's doing really good numbers. He's obviously still a draw. The fans still love him. So if they are planning to take the belt off of him and he never gets it back, or he doesn't get it back for ages, that would be silly, because I think there's still a lot of money to be made with Tetsuya Naito and lots of other challenges. I think he's got a really important role to play with New Japan now that Okada's left and Ospreay's left. So him retaining, absolutely fine with that. Now, if Moxley is to win and then it goes back to Naito in quick succession, whether that's, you know, let's say Dominion, so a little cup of coffee for Jon Moxley, maybe getting a defensive resurgence or Taku, and then Naito wins it back at Dominion, absolutely fine with that as well, because then, you know, to me, that's, you know, popping two big houses. You get the big number for Windy City Riot, and then you get a big number for Dominion. To me, that just makes financial sense. And creatively as well, that would be fine. You know, Naito's got to atone his loss. He already lost to Moxley back in the 2019 G1, so, you know, it makes narrative sense as well. So examine it from the perspective of Moxley winning. You know, what are the benefits of that? Well, one, Moxley's great. He's a cool dude. He's one of the better wrestlers in the world. And whilst I do see the sort of complaints about the optics of them putting the New Japan World title on another quote unquote absentee white guy, I hear that, but I think that's unfair to Mox. I don't think it's fair to lump him in with Nemeth and Riddle and all those other guys, because Mox is a guy that I don't see. I know he's sort of contracted to AEW, but, you know, he's been doing stuff with New Japan since 2019, and I think he's done enough with the company and engendered enough goodwill. And he's, you know, he's not doing it for money. He does it because he loves it. He loves going over to Japan and having nutty matches. You know, look at the death matches he's had with Despy on those shows there, and he went over and had a crazy brawl with Great Okan last year for no fucking reason. Yeah. You know, it didn't seem to benefit Okan. So he's a nutcase. He loves doing this stuff. So let's give Jon Moxley the benefit of the doubt. If he does win this, I don't think it would be fair to say, oh, look, they've put it on another AEW guy. This company's absolutely cut, because to me, Moxley is special and he deserves better than that. And look, would I, if he wins the championship, do I think he needs to be working every single tour in Japan and every Road 2 show? No, I don't. I think as long as he's there for the big shows, as long as it's not, you know, doing like what Kenny Omega did with the US title, just like disappearing completely and then popping up again in 6 months, that would be unacceptable. But I don't think that's what Jon Moxley would do. So I've got enough faith in just Jon Moxley, because I'm sure he's gets plenty of say into, you know, the creative direction and stuff. I've got enough faith in him to think that if he does win it, then it's going to make sense and it's going to be good at the end of it. So, yeah, I don't really have a preference either way, but I do think Moxley is going to win the belt. And I know there's been, you know, a lot of fantasy booking about, you know, he's going to drop it to Shota Umino or blah blah blah. Like you could set stuff up. I think Shota is miles away from being ready for that. But they just find themselves in a really to me, a great spot here where, to me, I'm really excited for the match and both outcomes make sense. And I'm leaning more towards Moxley winning this one.
I said before Sakura Genesis that New Japan was in a position with their world title where the most boring option is we keep it on the most popular guy in the company. Like, that's a good spot to be in when keeping it on your ace is, the least interesting option. Not a bad option, just the least interesting of the three. That's a good spot for him to be in. But he beat Tsuji, and now we're at Mox. I'm leaning like 60-40 Naito retains. I was 70-30, but then Naito did an interview where he was like, you know what, I'm starting to get attached to this belt. And the picture on the tweet was one of him smiling and happy, and that made me, my immediate thought when seeing that picture was, uh-oh. Like, that's not good for him. Like, happy Naito that's like a warning sign. But
it's like saying he's got 2 days to retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. But I'm still leaning Naito retains. Like, he is still the big ace for the company, domestically and internationally, as this house will show. Credit to him as well as Mox for it. I think, Mox helped with it, but I think Naito helped as well. This is a big match, Naito and Mox. But I lean 60-40. Them changing the title in America does feel unlikely, but if they would do it, Mox would be the guy. Like, Mox isn't, this isn't like Leland Race or Brian Breaker or whatever. He's not some random foreigner coming in. Like, this, Mox has been around. He's worked New Japan before the pandemic, through the pandemic. He did the stuff in the empty building for Strong. He's been as dedicated to New Japan as he can be on a full-time schedule with AEW. I think if he won the world title, he can pop some houses in Japan. He can pop some houses in America. I think it is interesting that he seems to have vanished from AEW television lately. I think that's a little telling. But yeah, I think if Mox did defenses at Dentaku, Resurgence, and then either lost it at Dominion or at Forbidden Door, I think that helps New Japan. I think that it pops a couple houses. You get Mox's name in the record books as world champ, and whoever beats him for the belt, whether it be just giving it back to Naito or putting over one of the young guys for it, I think they benefit very strongly from it. So I'm certainly not opposed to Mox winning the belt. I can't say that I'm expecting it. That Resurgence show is interesting to me because they've announced a world title match on that show. And either guy could do it. I don't know.
Can I jump in with a question from In-Ring Art? It says, take an early guess, what's the title match at Resurgence?
I can see that being a Dave Finlay defense. Like, I can see that being where Dave Finlay gets a shot, or God help
I'll tell you
us
what.
if it's Sonata. God help us.
No, thank you. No, don't do that to me. Don't put that evil into the world. Jeff Cobb on commentary was making comments about going after big singles titles, so it could be
California,
Mox versus
too.
Jeff Cobb at Resurgence
in California. Yeah, that could be something. Like, I'm trying to think of defenses for either guy. Like, I do think Finlay I can see Finley being like a defense for one of them. Like Dave Finley is he beat Mox at the Dome, right? Didn't he pin Mox? No, he pinned Finley.
No, Ospreay,
he is Finley. He pinned Ospreay.
He pinned himself.
Yes.
I mean, Don Taku historically has been the Bullet Club show, so yeah, I think
maybe.
Well, then again, Finley was speaking very aggressively to Tsuji, so I don't know if they're going to be doing something with them, but yeah, there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, they've got a lot of options either way. I can see Mox winning the belt, and maybe they do the rematch at Forbidden Door, because that's soon after Dominion. That's always like a couple weeks after Dominion. They announced that date, so we can know for sure. Let me look. Let me do the best thing for an audio podcast and look things up.
Well, you're looking for the date for Forbidden Door?
Yes. And the date for Dominion. Date for Dominion is June 9th. And then they just
June 30th.
Okay, so that's 3 weeks. Okay, so Mox. Okay, so if Mox were to win the title, he could either drop it at Dominion or drop it at Forbidden Door. And I don't think that would be a problem either way. April to June's not too long, especially if Mox is popping back in. And you've got Super Juniors going on as well. That's doable. And I don't think that's any kind of, affront to the native fan base.
Do you think it would have to go back to Naito, though? Because I feel quite strongly that it should.
I think either Naito or one of the young guys. I think we're kind of wading into fantasy booking here, but I think a Mox defense versus Umino at Dominion to kind of that mirror of that first match from 2019. I think that would be cool, and then you do the Naito match at Forbidden Door, because that would still be a big match. Yeah, I think if Mox wins, he'd have to lose it back to Naito. So, do I think it's possible? Yes. I'm still leaning Naito retains, just as he's the ace, and them changing the title in America feels like a big step. But this is a big show. They got 6,100 tickets moved at last count, so they're gonna have a really big house here. It might be worthy of a title switch, to really get the American fans kind of energized about New Japan again and buying more tickets to these US shows, which, despite the kind of perception slump, these US shows are still doing really well.
Yeah, and that's what the Yankoid imbecile's like. Just a white guy with the title. That's
that and tables. That's all we need.
Well, anyway, I'm really looking forward to the show. A lot of intrigue going into that. And again, hopefully you're listening to this before it's all happened. If not, you can laugh at how wrong I was with all my predictions. Last thing to talk about then is Wrestling World 2024 in Taipei. I know I said, no, not Taipei. It is Taipei? Or Taipei?
Well, the name is Taiwan, Wrestling World in Taiwan. It is in Taipei.
Okay. Right. I made a joke earlier when I said Chinese Taipei instead of Taiwan, which I like to do to annoy my Taiwanese friends, but it was a joke. I apologise. I'm scared I'm going to get cancelled now. But yeah, anyway, that is coming up April 14th. So we've got 2 title bouts on this one. I'll just go through the whole card. We don't have to preview every single match. We got Toyu against Axe Wang. Now, I'm a massive fan of Axe Wang, just from the name. Axe Wang.
But when I was younger, Axe Wang. You don't like TJP.
When I was younger, someone taught me the phrase hairy axe wound as an unflattering euphemism for ladies' genitalia. So when I saw axe wound, I just thought of axe wound. So yeah, so we're all looking forward to seeing hairy axe wang. The Battlefish will want to represent in front. Oh my god, this sounds brilliant! I've got to see this. But yeah, so there's that. We have a
time limit too. This one could go deep.
Let's go Broadway. We have the tournament for the vacant Never Six-Man title. So we have a Hontai team of Yano, Oleg Boltin, and Tanahashi. They will be facing a United Empire team of Francesco Akira, Great Okan, and Callum Newman. And on the other side of the bracket, we have an LIJ team of Tsuji, Shingo, and Bushi against a House of Torture team of Sho, Evil, and Kanemaru. So, yeah, let's just do some quick predictions for this tournament. I don't see LIJ winning it because obviously Shingo is never champion, and I think Bushi is going to be going after the junior tags. Not that, they can't be double champions, but I just think they've probably got their hands full with that. And, why not have House of Torture featured prominently on a card? That's what the Taiwanese fans probably want to see. So I would expect House of Torture to be going through with that. And then it's quite tricky, actually. Let's go with the United Empire team. I think the United Empire team against the House of Torture team in the final. And, this one's quite tricky. Let's go with the United Empire team. I like that team. Newman, Akira, and Okan. I think they're going to be walking out with those Never Six-Man titles, and I say that with absolutely zero confidence. How do you see that tournament playing out?
I do want to note that New Japan that NJPW 1972 has Tanahashi, Yano, and Oleg in both tournament matches, and they do not have House of Torture in there at all.
What a Freudian slip from whoever is doing the website. It's just
absolutely
the House of Torture erasure.
All these teams. Who's the House of Torture team again? Because I cannot see them.
It's Sho, Evil, and Kanemaru.
Sho, Evil, and Kanemaru. That's a good Never Six-Man team, but the problem is the main event. That's the main event of the show in Taiwan.
You don't want to be sending the fans home with that.
With Evil's music playing in the back. Hey, have fun. Thanks for coming out. See you in 5 years. Put it on Tanahashi, Yano, and Oleg. That seems like a team that can hold these belts for a few minutes and then just lose them in Japan.
Yeah, you know what? I like that prediction more because then you can have Tanahashi closing the show and doing the air guitar.
Yeah, there you go.
What else do we have? We've also got the heavyweight tag championships on the line here with Bishamon defending against Sanada and Yuya Uemura. Now, that's a really interesting one because, well, one, I like it. I like that we're getting Sanada back in the tag division where he belongs and also getting a nice championship opportunity, as they say, for Yuya Uemura. Quite difficult to call, that one. Again, I like the matchmaking. I think it will be a really good match, but I don't see Bishamon losing the titles this quickly.
I mean, this would be an interesting, a nice little newsworthy title switch to do on this show. Give the fans something to talk about. Hey, we saw Sanada and Uemura win the belts, This one's a little
the two
bit
handsome
of a
guys
toss-up.
as well.
Yeah, they've, these titles have been bouncing around all year. I can't write it off that these two win these titles here and maybe we get a rematch at Dontaku. That could be a quick little switch there. You know what? I'll call it. I'll call my shot. Uemura and Sanada will win these titles or you will get your money back.
Sure, why not? I like it.
A money back guarantee on a free podcast that I am guest hosting.
We also have Doki in the singles match against Kosei Fujita. So I believe that's like a sort of title eliminator. You'd imagine the winner of this will go on to face Sho at some point. And again, this one quite tricky to call. There's a lot of very intriguing matches on this card. I like it. I like Wrestling World in Taiwan. Let's say I don't know. I can't do it. You go. You go first. I can't pick a winner here.
I said earlier Doki was my Super Junior pick. Do you have Fujita get the surprise win here? You know what? That'll be my call. I think Fujita gets a surprise win, and Doki will win Super Juniors, and he will save the division from the cackling maniac that is Show.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Fujita as well, just because I think it will be cool for him to get a title match at, I don't know, Don Taco or something, him against Show. Might not necessarily win, but I think it'll be pretty sweet anyway. We also have Starlight Kid versus Hanako. Don't really know anything enough about these guys to have any sort of insight there, but there's your Stardom offer match. Anything you want to say about this one?
Starlight Kid looks cool. Yeah, she looks cool, and I like the mask.
Yeah, more masks. Yeah. Everyone likes masks. Did have a question about this, actually. M says, went to Korakuen last night with a friend who is into wrestling but doesn't follow New Japan. The big standouts to him were Despy and Bushi. So the question is, do you think there's more potential for the usage of masked wrestlers in NJPW, or do they have a certain ceiling in New Japan? My friend also loved Yo and thought he was the main world champion until I explained that was not the case, which I think made my friend love him even more. So, more masks. Masks are cool, especially for if you're not familiar with wrestlers. I think the person with the mask always comes across as the cooler person. So there you go. We've also got a match between Satoshi Kojima and Tiger Mask. Oh, another mask here and another mask. El Desperado against Sho Makato. So, whatever. That's a fun match. We like it. Maybe Despy to pick up a win here, but there you go.
We need more masks and more masked people in three-piece suits, because that is always a baller look.
I'll tell you what the best look is, and it's not technically professional wrestling, but it is wrestling adjacent. It is the King from Tekken 1, King's alternate outfit. I'm going to look it up just so I don't get the colours wrong. So he... I can't bloody find it now. But if I remember... No, I've got to find it. Again, the best thing in podcasts, someone looking up stuff on the internet.
While the other person lets them drown, because they're also looking it up.
Right. Okay, all right. So I found it. So it is... He's wearing white braces, so white trousers with the braces over the shoulders, a blue button-up shirt, and a red and white check tie. So I'm going to send you a picture of it. I guess I'll send it to you as a direct message on Slack. You'll be able to see it, right?
Let me see.
And you tell me, is this not the coolest masked outfit for a wrestler, real or fake, to be wearing?
Let's check the DMs.
Oh, I've sent it to the right person. I just sent it to a complete random. It's a good look, isn't it?
It is a good look. The suspenders too. I think suspenders are a good. I like suspenders as part of like a dress kind of suit. But yeah, that's a good look. Distinct. I like it.
And here you go. Here's a fun fact for you. So you may already know this. Do you know who did the motion capture for King in Tekken 1?
Was it Minoru Suzuki?
It certainly was.
How about
that's
that?
Probably the sort of thing that's been tweeted into oblivion by the clout goblins of the world. So everyone probably knows that one by now. But yeah, there you go. That is Wrestling World in Taiwan. So look forward to that.
Oh yeah, I'll check it out on the on World whenever they pop it up. It's a show in a place they don't go very often, so you figure the crowd's gonna be excited to have some wrestling on their front steps. So yeah, I'll be sure to check this one out.
All right, well, it is my bedtime now. So, Sue, thank you so much for stepping in and joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure. Anything you'd like to plug before we go?
At Suit Williams on all social media. You can follow me pretty much anywhere. And then you can find my long form work at voicesofwrestling.com. You can also find my AEW Collision reviews at F4W online as well. And yeah, that's about it.
Fantastic stuff. All right, redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast if you want to throw some money our way. If you want to join our Discord, if you want exclusive access to our deli, then my suggested donation is $5 a month. If you send me proof of purchase, I might hook you up with that. At Cobra Kawaii and prowrestlingtees.com/super-j-cast if you want to get one of our lovely t-shirts. Big thanks to editor Dan. He's on Twitter at LousyHero219. Follow us on Twitter at the Super J-Cast. Thank you everybody for listening, and goodbye.
Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's Rev Pro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.